I want to cover this server in beacons, and to understand why, we'll have to go back to approximately 18 seconds ago. It was your average Monday morning on the Noodle SMP. I had just logged on, and that's when I noticed it. A singular beacon located in the center of our melon farm emitting speed 2. At first I didn't think much of it. That was until I left the range of the beacon and was hit with the realization of just how slow walking actually is. Which is when I came up with the genius plan of covering a 450 block radius around spawn with speed 2 beacons, so I would never feel slow again. To truly evolve as a Noodle society, we need to evolve ourselves, and we can start by making our generic walking speed just that much faster.
Who are you talking to?
Let's formulate a plan. To cover a 900 by 900 block area, we're going to need exactly 81 beacons, which doesn't sound like a lot, but may I remind you that in order to get just one beacon, we'll need to kill a wither. So multiply that by 81. And in order to spawn 81 withers, I'll need 243 wither skulls, which only have a 5.5% chance of dropping with looting 3. But this isn't actually as bad as it sounds. See, the Noodle SMP has two primary quirks. One, the world is a noodle. I think that's pretty obvious. And two, the typically structured nature of enchantments has been tangled by the world around it, which translates to most enchantments cap at level 10. So our 5.5% chance with looting 3 is actually a 12.5% chance with looting 10, which honestly isn't much better, so we should probably go build a wither skeleton farm. And fix that. Alright, I've expanded the Nether Ice Highway to a nearby fortress, but I currently don't have the materials or inventory space to construct the farm. So what I'm thinking is we take a quick trip to the end. This isn't the stronghold. We take a quick trip to the end for some sugar shells and start collecting materials once we get back. Okay, I did a little resource gathering and I've got everything except for a few turtle eggs, which is a strange resource, but it'll be used to lure away zombie piglins. All I gotta do is find a beach biome in this mess and feed some turtles. Yeah, I couldn't find any turtles. Turns out they only spawn 1 to 3 blocks above sea level, so trying to find one in a world like this is near impossible. I'm willing to sacrifice the efficiency of my wither skeleton farm. It doesn't mean I have to spend multiple days creating the right spawn conditions for frickin' sea turtles. Anyways, let's go build that wither skeleton farm. Whoops. After I get a new sword. It took around an hour, but the farm's finally done. I guess we just gotta run it now. Okay, this thing is running a lot slower than it should be, even with the lack of turtle eggs. And it's likely to do with the world itself. Typically, this farm would be built above the bedrock to limit mob spawns, but the Noodle Nether does not have that. Instead, the Nether generates all the way up to world height, which means there's a lot more Endermen crowding my spawn rates than there should be. But when there's a problem, there's a solution. So I started to cover everything in slabs to prevent Enderman spawns. But it didn't take me too long to realize that that was going to take forever. After doing a little bit of observing though, I noticed the Endermen really like to climb up the noodles. So I put a trench in their way, forcing them to fall to their demise, which fixed the problem enough for me to continue wither skeleton farming. Boom, 243 skulls in the old inventory with a little extra. Now to just grab a bit of soul sand and kill Minecraft's second strongest mob 81 times. If only there was a way to kill a wither that doesn't require much time or effort. Fun fact, you can spawn the wither under the end exit portal, which will prevent both its attacks and movements. Yeah, this part isn't going to be too difficult. And just like that, we got 81 nether stars. Wait, why are they called nether stars? Wouldn't it make more sense to call them wither stars, like how ender pearls drop from endermen or blaze rods drop from blazes? I mean, withers aren't particularly nether exclusive, it just seems strange that their drop isn't named after the mob itself. Oh right, I was getting beacons. Let's grab a bit of melons, trade those for emeralds, trade those emeralds for glass, take out an end pillar for obsidian, craft all that up, and 81 beacons. Which brings us to the hard part. I need a way to power all these beacons. And just for a quick reference, one beacon needs 164 blocks to be fully powered, and multiplied by 81, that's 13,284 blocks. I guess the only reasonable thing to do in this situation is build an iron farm.
Oh my god, oh no!
I should probably help him first. Turns out Toast fell through one of the holes in the nether highway, but luckily disconnected before he hit the lava. To save him, we'll just grab a bit of hay bales, maybe some slime blocks. Well, I guess I'm getting a new trident! After a long trident farming session, Toast eventually joined the next day and survived. At least his trident was spared. At this point, I was getting a little impatient. We still had only one beacon in our melon farm, and I was tired of the whiplash I felt every time I left that area. So I started to place beacons around the midway, which is what we call our base. And while we didn't have a large supply of iron to power them, we did have a small supply of iron thanks to this crappy iron farm. But this still wasn't enough to power the entire midway, so I started using emerald blocks that I obtained from villagers. Okay, the entire midway has speed 2 and the spot for the new iron farm. Yeah, I should probably build that. So I didn't get any audio for this scene, but basically a couple of my friends joined, and after messing around a bit, we decided to respawn and kill the ender dragon for fun. But after getting gas tiers and crafting the end crystals, my buddy Chills pulled the absolute genius play of shooting me with a multi-shot 10 crossbow while I was on a 2-wide bridge in the nether. To say I was upset would be an understatement. Now, on the server, there's two things you don't want to lose. One, your trident, because the drop rates are terrible. And two, your soul speed boots, because soul speed books only have a 1% chance of dropping through piglin trays. And the chance of that book being the max level of 10 is even lower. Want to take a guess on the only two items I lost? Yeah, it was my trident and my boots. I wasn't gonna let this crime slide. So while I was killing drowns and farming piglins, Chills was voluntarily mining melons so I could buy back the enchantments I lost. Now, before you say anything, I didn't force him to mine melons. I just suggested it. Forcefully. Oh, and I also respawned the dragon while he was in the end, so he couldn't leave. Twice. Look, man, I just really like those boots. Chills eventually paid off his debt, which leaves me on my own again. I want to prevent losing any iron when I AFK the farm tonight, so I'll expand the storage to fit the exact amount of iron we'll need, which is around 119,000. Beacon time. First step is converting all this iron into blocks. Now that we have the blocks and the beacons, we gotta figure out placement. Beacons cover a 50 block radius, so placing each one exactly 100 blocks away from each other would leave no wasted overlap. To make it even simpler, I'll place each beacon on every 100th coordinate so I can use F3 instead of having to count. I made a mistake. While I was originally going to wait until I placed all the beacons to start activating them, I wanted to get this one out of the way because it was under the ice trail. But after riptiding and placing a bucket of water, I didn't account for the lack of water underneath me. Normally this would be all fine and dandy, but the water I placed earlier pushed a couple of my items into the lava. Want to take a guess on which two items those were?
Your boots and your trident?
It was my boots and my trident. With this being the second time this has happened, I made the wise decision of making a gold farm? I think. In reality, I just flattened out an area for zombie piglins to spawn and put a fort in the middle. But that was enough to get me gold for a few soul speed books. Getting another trident was a little easier since we have an established farm. I did attempt to increase the spawn rates by lighting up dark areas, but it didn't really make a significant impact. Anyways, let's just enchant this stuff and get back to beaconing. All the beacons are in place, which leaves us with one more task. Activating them. Beacons can only be activated if they have no blocks above them. In a normal world, this wouldn't be much of a problem because you can just go to the surface and dig down until you hit your beacon. But in Noodle World, reaching the blocks above is a bit more difficult. I have a plan though, and it's called Tridents. See, enchantments go up to level 10, and that includes Riptide. So if I just Riptide straight up and place water on the block above, I can repeat this process to easily ascend the noodles. And for even higher noodles, I can throw an Ender Pearl while Riptiding, which will launch the pearl at a much higher velocity. With this plan in mind, I think I'm ready to finish this project. Five and a half hours later, it was complete. 81 beacons, all emitting speed 2. A monumental moment in Noodle history. I'll never feel slow again!
Hey, can you give me some blaze rods?
Sure, no problem. Oh no.